It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, we're going to get on the interactive board today and go through Xerox's first quarter, FY 2023. Real quick, I got to do a big congratulations. Xerox, 6.9% operating margin. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter what you do if you don't make any money doing it. And the whole entire industry's had quarters where they've had some hiccups, that's for sure. But Xerox, they started with these strategic cost cuts a while back, and it's working. They're a profitable company. And you have to be profitable. You have to be profitable. When I think of Xerox, I think of another iconic company called IBM. IBM, this huge ocean liner. You know how hard it is to turn an ocean liner? It's hard. But they had to turn that ocean liner, and they had to go into uncharted waters and change and reinvent the company. Today, IBM is recognized as a world-leading company. Xerox, huge ocean liner. We know how hard it is to turn an ocean liner. They have to go into uncharted waters. They have to reinvent the company. Because we all want Xerox, that American brand, that American company, to be an iconic company for another 100 years, right? That's the goal. I guess the good news is their CEO, Stephen Ben-Razak, well, he came from Lenovo. We all know Lenovo came from IBM. Ladies and gentlemen, turning a big giant ship, navigating those challenging waters is not an easy task. And Stephen and his team definitely have the work cut out for them. So let's jump on the interactive board, and I want to share my thoughts. Stephen's got his priorities, client success. Here's what I'll say. Quit calling it the hybrid worker. I'm so sick of our industry using this hybrid worker. That just means you're not all in. It's not about a hybrid worker. It's about a remote worker. I'm going to keep saying this till the whole entire industry changes its thinking. When we think about a remote worker, that means a worker, whether they're in the office or whether they're on the beach, has business processes that allow them to work remote on the beach, if you will. When the business processes of the world allow workers to work remote, it doesn't matter where they work. It's not about a hybrid worker. It's about processes that are being developed rapidly to allow workers to work anywhere they wish or their ownership wishes they work. Focus on profitability. You know, Xerox started their profitability campaign a while back, and they're executing on it. And all those that invest in companies, they want to what? They want an ROI. The ROI comes from the profit. Focusing on profitability can be painful, especially around the human capital component. Xerox has gone through some grief like a lot of the other folks in our industry. But here's the reality. Profitability has to be a focus. I mean, I know our industry's got a couple players out there that don't really think profitability is even important. They continue to talk about getting 1 or 2% operating profit like that's a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's a terrible thing. And at the end of the day, in order to maintain as an ongoing concern, you have to be able to make profit. And when your core deliverable of print, and that's the core deliverable of all the folks in our industry, is declining, both in equipment pricing, equipment needs, the supplies for the equipment, and the services on the equipment, there better be a pretty strong diversification strategy. Shareholder returns, he wants to deliver 50% of free cash flow to the shareholders. This is where I struggle. I said a while back, wouldn't it be fantastic if Xerox could go private? If they could just go private for a few years, turn that ship into those challenging waters, navigate those challenges, come back out, go public with the new deliverable, with the new Xerox. Boy, it would be so much easier to do that. Because here's what I believe, folks, and I believe it with all my heart. It's challenging to diversify and satisfy shareholders at the same time. The cost to re-engineer the deliverable past print and print's ancillary services is greatly underestimated throughout the industry. Our industry is greatly underestimating the cost to re-engineer this industry. To turn that ship into those challenging waters, greatly underestimating the cost to do that. And folks, at the end of the day, those costs are only increasing. And it's going to be a really slippery slope for these publicly traded companies to navigate a complete re-engineering along with satisfying shareholders. It's going to be really tough. Again, I really wish Xerox could go private. HP is going to publish their quarter results. And when they do, it'll be the 8th quarter in a row with declining supply revenues. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that in the year 2023, the print industry will probably be classified as junk bond status. The investment community is going to start looking at the print industry as junk bond status. And the investment community is going to want to know what else is going on in these organizations. And that what else is going on in these organizations has been a theme of mine for a long time. I've been screaming at Konica Minolta, tell us what's going on with your all-covered business, because they've been doing IT longer than anybody. Still crickets. But folks, whether you're Xerox, whether you're Konica, whether you're Ricoh, Kyocera, Sharp, it doesn't really matter. If you're doing these other things, you've got to be able to start telling the world what these other things are from a perspective of value and profitability. What's the revenue from these other things and what's the profitability from these other things? It's extremely important. Let's look at their top line number, $1.72 billion for the quarter and 6.9% operating margin. Again, that's good. Revenue numbers are flat. I will say this, if you look at the operating margin down there, it was 9.2% the fourth quarter of 2022, 6.9% this quarter. And they're doing this because of their strategic cost cutting that they've implemented a few years ago. And they're going to continue to do this. The cost cutting is not going to go away. We got to cut costs from the old way of doing things so we can infuse money into the new way of doing things. And that's where it's going to be a little bit conflicting between the shareholders and the investments needed for the company. I truly believe that. I went back and I looked at the first quarter for the year 2021, 2022, and 2023. You can see the numbers are pretty flat, ladies and gentlemen. Hardware equipment is 381, 314. These are millions, by the way. And 391 for the quarter of 2023. And we're seeing the back orders are being eliminated a little bit more, so they're able to pick up their equipment revenue number. But when I look at the post-sales number, it's been the same pretty much. That $1.3+ billion per quarter. And I put this little seesaw here. And I want us to think about post-sales. We've got to weight down the non-print side with the bucketfuls of money and profit. What are the bucketfuls of money that don't have anything to do with print that Xerox is doing? And when are they going to be heavier than the bucketfuls of money of the print business, its supplies and its services? We all know that print's declining. We've got to tell the world the numbers on the post-sales outside of print. That's to Xerox, that's to Ricoh, that's to Konica, that's to all the industry. We've got to do this, folks. The investment community is not going to wait much longer. Fiddle. Ladies and gentlemen, Fiddle is an interesting company to me. They did $154 million for the first quarter of 2023. Their segment margin was 7.9%. This is an interesting company. Used to be Xerox Financial Services, changed the name to Fiddle. They want to go outside of the print world. But again, Fiddle, you got to tell us. You got to tell the world, hey, this is what we're doing in the agricultural business. This is what we're doing in the construction business. This is what we're doing in the automotive business. Look at this, fantastic revenues, fantastic profits. Because then the investment community can get excited about a future without print. It says here, originations in quarter one, 57% of the growth in originations led by captive and non-captive channels. I want to know how much of that 50% of the growth was non-captive. Okay. What's non-captive? What are you doing outside of the print customers? It's so important for the world to know this. Xerox, be a leader here. Be a leader and share these numbers with the world. Look, the numbers are going to be small when you start dissecting out your different deliverables compared to the almost $7 billion worth of print you're doing. But at the end of the day, if the world can see that those numbers are growing, if the world can see that those numbers are profitable, if the world can see that the processes are getting better and better quarter after quarter, they're going to get excited about investing. They will, I'm telling you. Operating cash, free cash flow, $70 million for the first quarter of 2023. They want to have $500 million for the year. They'll probably do it. But again, I got to tell you, That's going to put a lot of pressure on investing back into the company to navigate those challenging waters. Xerox did an interesting thing. They got rid of Park. They donated Park to SRI International. And folks, I think this is a fantastic thing. And you can read the press release. I'm not going to read it here. I am going to read one paragraph out of it because I think it sets the tone. So let me read that paragraph. As part of the donation, Xerox will enter into a preferred research agreement called the Technology Exploration and Innovation Program, in which SRI will provide contracted research and development services to Xerox and its clients. Through the collaborative program, Xerox and SRI will identify topic areas relevant to Xerox's core print, digital, and IT services business. The final goal of creating proofs of concepts and roadmaps to implementation. Xerox will also retain branded innovation hub at Park to host meetings, demonstrations, and annual conference for its clients. But at the end of the day, they got rid of all the costs associated with Park. And those, I assure you, the costs around Park weren't small. And so that'll help them. That'll help them grab some additional profits so they can reinvest, re-engineer, turn that ship into those challenging waters. But at the same time, whatever SRI and Park do together, Xerox is this huge hub for them to take those products and services into the marketplace and get those proofs of concepts. This will be a very, very interesting relationship to watch, but I have to congratulate Xerox on doing this. I think it was a smart thing to do. It was probably a painful thing to do. I mean, Park would be one of those sacred cows, if you will, that I talked about a while back. But sometimes we got to get rid of the sacred cows so that we can navigate these big giant ocean liners into those challenging waters. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what I want to suggest to Xerox. Get rid of the 3% of your business that's outside of the EMA and Americas. I was looking at this thing. Yes, $7.1 billion global revenue. 3% equals $213 million. Get rid of it. You know, I mean, realistically, what's the cost to be in business in these marketplaces outside of the EMA and Americas? The Forex alone, but all the things that go with that. Logistics and everything else. Would it be better just to get rid of it? You're going to lose $213 million in revenue, but what would you gain back in cost? I strongly suggest that Xerox seriously consider that. A tip from Ray, if you will. I want to talk real quick about these other things that Xerox does. We already know about Fiddle. Let's break it out. Tell us the numbers outside of print. We'll get excited about that. But I think about their enterprise content management, robotic process automation, secure and reliable IT services for small and medium business. This is one that scares me a little bit because I don't have enough detail. I'm just as scared of Xerox doing IT services as all covered. I'm just as scared of Xerox doing IT services as I am about how Visual Edge was doing IT services. Because at the end of the day, we can't do it dysfunctionally. And we can't run around and buy up IT services companies and believe that's going to get us into the business. We got to be able to go into the marketplace, articulate what exactly it is, and how we're going to drive revenue and profit from what that exactly is. It's so important for this. And Xerox Workflow Central, the platform, we all know the app thing. You have the apps on the device. You can use the apps without the device. There's a lot of legs with that. But the world needs to know what these things are doing individually. The world needs to know this. I think about this Care AR, and I'm going to clarify really quick. You all know I'm a big Care AR supporter, and Care AR, by the way, is one of my sponsors. But at the end of the day, I pick who my sponsors are because I believe they got something that can help change the world, help change the industry, help navigate the industry ships into those challenging waters, and Care AR is one of those platforms. But I think about this Care AR Instruct, and I strongly suggest you go to Care AR's website and you look at the different components of Care AR. But this Care AR Instruct, let me just paint a picture for you. You buy a lawnmower from Lowe's, you bring it home, you open up the box, you take your phone out, you go to the QR code, and it tells you how to put the thing together. A lot of you are going to say, well, Ray, you can do that with all kinds of augmented reality platforms. Why would you have to use Care AR? Because Care AR is a platform that ties back into systems and dispatch systems for services organizations. The relationship that CareAR has with ServiceNow is a great example of that. But organizations, they don't want to just be able to help the end user put together their lawnmower. They want to be able to study what the end user did while they were using the augmented platform to put together the lawnmower. They want to have a database of all that information so they can improve their deliverable. It's not just about lawnmowers. Use your imagination. CareAR Instruct is powerful. It's game-changing for a whole lot of products. So again, I'm super excited about that. But Xerox, you got to tell us what you're doing here. What's the revenue from CareAR? What's the profitability of CareAR? What's the future investment going to look like to get this thing where it can be $1 billion on its own and then $2 billion and then $3 billion? You get the picture. The world needs to know. Time to detail out the numbers. It's critical to understanding what replaces print as print continues to decline. Ladies and gentlemen, Xerox had a great quarter. But at the end of the day, Xerox is that giant freightliner that has to navigate into challenging waters so they can remain relevant for future generations. And everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.